Hi guys, this is Paul with TweakTown here at Storage Visions 2014. Right now in the booth we have Tarun Loomba. He is the Vice President of Marketing for Client Storage Solutions at SanDisk's. It's been a pretty big year for you guys. I mean, you guys have really came into the limelight quite a bit. I know. Yeah. Could you give us a few words about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So first of all, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to your viewers. And I want to just say a quick moment to thank you for our partnership that we've had with you all over the last year. I think it's just it's been a great, working with you guys and just seeing the kind of content you guys put out and that level of content balancing between kind of what any type of audience member needs, and the absolute depth of
yes, we try to have some good tests.
But also the high level to get people what they need. So I really do appreciate it. It's been a great partnership.
Thank you.
So 13 has been a really good year for SanDisk clients. So I represent the Client Storage Solutions group. So this is SSDs that go into any PC or PC-like device. And a few years ago, Sanjay Mehrotra, our CEO, he put one of those BHAGs out, the big, hairy, audacious goals, when we were pretty much nothing in the SSD space. He said, look, by 2014, the end of 2014, 25% of our business will be SSDs.
25%, that's a big goal for a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
It certainly is. It was a moonshot. Right, this is that's the kind of thing you put together, but it's one of those things that really becomes a rallying cry, and SSDs both for the enterprise space and for client. And what we found, what's happened over the last few years is in 2012, we were the public information were 9%. SSDs were 9% of the overall business. In Q3, our public information for Q3, Q4 hasn't been announced yet. We were at 20%.
Wow, that's close. We're almost there.
And so we're clearly on track for the 25% goal. He might have actually undercalled it. But no, it's gone extremely well. Just another interesting data point. I can't comment on the specifics here, but IDC puts out market share information.
Absolutely.
If you look at CQ2, calendar quarter 2 of 12, they had us at 6%, number 5 in the industry. You look at calendar quarter 2 of 13, and we were at 14% and number 2 in the industry.
Well, that's excellent. That's a big
now,
jump.
again, I can't comment on what the specifics of that, but it's directionally correct, and we've certainly had a significant increase in share and relevance in the industry. So it's been really good, actually, from that standpoint. And also, we had some great product launches over the last year. The Extreme 2.
Yeah, absolutely, that's a big one.
You guys review that number. It's one of the most highly awarded products in the industry. So we're really, really very proud of that. And then we had another interesting product debut, which was our PCIe. You guys looked at that as well, our A series.
It's high performance, yes.
Very high performance. It was a it's a 2-lane PCIe, and if you look at PCIe overall, and you look at the number of units, we went to mass production in the middle of the year. Mm-hmm. We've shipped multiple millions of units of PCIe. We're probably one of the worldwide leaders in PCIe SSDs.
Because a lot of what your company sells, of course we see things on the shelves, but you guys are also really deep in the OEM space as well, correct?
That's right. That's right. So when I look at kind of our business, we sell to OEM through retail and through a channel. We built a channel business this year through distribution to systems integrators and VARs. But the big one is the OEM space. That's where we've done developer. And we actually had an announcement today, you probably saw, with ASUS. You want to talk performance. They took dual 2260 SSDs and rated them together.
Wow.
So that's some performance.
That is definitely,
hopefully you guys will review that as well.
Yeah,
ASUS
we'll take a look at it.
Ultrabook.
We will take a look at it. So how do you see things moving forward? I know right now there's really a huge amount of scale. I think I recall off the top of my head that your Shanghai facility is doing over 1 million devices per day that are NAND based. I mean, that's mind-boggling. I actually used that in an article because it's eye-opening.
It's fantastic, by the way, being there. I got the full tour of that facility. It is an amazing site, honestly.
And how do you move from that? What's the next steps for you guys? And where are you going to focus in the market? What do you see as the emerging standards and the future?
So one of the markets that I want to talk about, and I think is just absolutely really significant right now. It's in the corporate space. So a lot of what we've been doing is in the consumer space. A lot of our success that I talked about, we were focused on consumer PC type platforms. When you look at where the big market potential is right now, and the value prop is absolutely clear, is in the corporate space. So corporate PC upgrades to SSDs instead of HDDs is really what I think the big market for this year is. And as an industry, it's not just SanDisk, right? As an industry, right now you're probably at about a 10 to 15% attach rate of SSDs for new platforms that go out. There's no reason that in 24 months we shouldn't see a 50%.
Especially in mobile devices. I mean,
there's
in so many clear
devices,
absolutely clear advantages.
So some of the things that we saw, when you look at the value proposition here, when you look at a CIO, between kind of the user benefits and then the IT kind of cost benefits, because the CIO has two masters, right? They're the users that are out there, and then they have the CFO.
Absolutely.
And we know which one rules.
Yes, who's got the pocketbook?
And so what we find is that an SSD in the corporate space, one of the big things that's changed, the cost has always been a big issue on SSDs, right? And 8 years ago, NAND was in the mid-40s per gigabyte. Right?
Absolutely.
It was ridiculous. Now for raw NAND, you're well sub $1. Right? So that's certainly coming down. But the other piece, in the corporate space especially, is that the minimum sufficient capacity. When you look at what you need for your users in a corporate space, 128 or 256 is plenty.
Absolutely.
Of space. You don't need the 500 and the terabyte. Sometimes the consumer space, you can have that for the media files and all, but for the workloads that you see in the corporate space, and the fact that you have private cloud infrastructure, you have server infrastructure, you don't need all that. And CIOs actually tell me, I don't want my guys to have that much space that I have to manage that's uncontrolled.
Absolutely.
Right? So we see a clear value proposition that from the cost standpoint for cost per unit, not cost per gig, but cost per unit of a 128 and 256. And then also the reliability benefits you see. Some studies have it as 8x reliability enhancement from like a 0.5% AFR to average failure rate to 4.5% for a HDD. So there's a number. I mean, so even if you take a 4x reliability increase, that in some of the data that we've seen, it amounts to around $80 worth per year per user. Mm-hmm. You start to look at that, and then the productivity increases you get for every minute. So roughly an SSD will save you half the time.
Absolutely.
On anything you do. Right?
Absolutely, yeah, it's way faster, snappy.
Every minute you save per person is 4 hours a year. At $70 an hour, you can start to see that the value of something like this, it makes the users happy, it gives them more productive time, and it's cheaper to do. There's very few technologies in the IT space that can say that, where the CIO can be the IT hero to the users and be the cost hero to the CFO. And
one aspect a lot of people don't take into consideration is the amount of time it takes to recover from a failure. Let's say, for instance, you have a hard disk drive with its moving parts. They fail much more often than solid state drives. So you're looking at, you have corporate data on there that's important. You're probably looking at needing to recover that data. So that's a whole separate issue. But just the process of going to IT and saying, hey, we need to get this laptop back up and running. And now you have a guy who's, a worker who's lost some files. Mm-hmm. He's losing time waiting for his replacement. And he has to essentially start over. So, that adds into that value prop.
It's absolutely true. And we've seen that. I mean, and then the final piece, so we did a study. So SanDisk went 100% SSD. So all of our users, we have about 4,600 users. We went 100% SSD. And besides all these, so what we did was we proved out all of these different data points. And there's a white paper on our website, SanDisk.com, that you can go and take a look at. And I encourage the viewers to do that as well. But the next big thing that Ravi Nayak, our CIO, found was that he could extend the life cycle of the PC an extra year to a year and a half, from a 3-year to a 4.5 year. That by itself drove $400 of value to the bottom line.
Well, and that makes sense because most of the speed problems are I/O constrained. It has to do with simple data. You can't get it off the disk fast enough.
Right. So net he found about $600 of value. That's $600 of value by moving to an SSD versus an HDD. So it's a clear value prop. I think our challenge in the industry is really to get that that understanding out there, get the messaging out there, get CIOs to understand what it can do. The more that I talk to them, there's some people clearly in the know, but there's a lot that just don't understand the value that we can bring. So we're very excited about partnering with folks like you, the industry, and really making this very clear.
And I think it's a good time to kind of attack that space, or at least expand into that area, because we're coming to the end of life with Windows XP, and most people would be amazed that the majority of corporate applications are actually still using XP. So
fascinating, isn't it?
You can't necessarily put Windows 7 or Windows 8, but probably more likely Windows 7 on most XP machines. So it's a good time when they're making decisions to consider the benefits of an SSD.
And one of the things that our CIO found is when you want to do upgrades, so one is to buy the new platforms, but when you do upgrades, do it along with something else you're already doing, right? So on the margin, it's actually not that much more labor expense to do the migration to an SSD at the same time.
Excellent.
So yeah, so I think people should go out and check it out on our website, the white paper we wrote, and I really think that's a very important area for us as an industry to go for.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by the booth.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
you.